Okay, let's jump into this chapter from Born a Crime called Run. Right from the very first sentence, Trevor Noah grabs your attention with one of the most shocking and unforgettable openings in the whole book. This chapter is exciting, intense, and sometimes even funny, but underneath it all, it's really a story about danger, survival, faith, and the powerful love between Trevor and his mother. And there it is, just one shocking sentence. And suddenly you have so many questions, right? What happened? Why did she do that? How could things get that dangerous? And the craziest part is that Trevor isn't exaggerating. This really happened. That moment wasn't a joke or a metaphor. It was the climax of a long, terrifying day that kept getting worse and worse. So, to understand this shocking moment, we have to rewind the story and go back to the beginning of that Sunday. Because what starts as a normal day centered around church and worship slowly turns into something dangerous and chaotic. And by the end of the day, Trevor and his family are caught in a terrifying chase through Johannesburg, fighting just to stay safe. So the day's trouble, it started early. Their car, which was this ancient bright orange Volkswagen Beetle that was always on its last legs, just wouldn't start. Now, for 9-year-old Trevor, this seems like a gift from above. But for his mother, oh no, it was a test. And this starts a classic argument between Trevor's simple, practical thinking and his mother's incredibly strong faith. Trevor thinks, maybe this is a sign that we should just stay home today. But his mother sees it completely differently. She believes these problems are tests from the devil trying to stop them from going to church and seeing whether they will give up. And here we get this really key insight into their dynamic. His mother ends this whole debate with just one powerful exosa word, sunkla. It's kind of like a command and a threat all rolled into one. And Trevor knew, he just knew that meant the conversation was over. One more peep out of him and he was getting a high. So, with that argument totally settled, they set off on their epic Sunday journey. But they weren't just going to one church. Nope, they were going to 3. We're talking a 9-hour marathon, all done by hopping between these public mini bus taxis. And this is just a brilliant illustration of their day, right? Each church was a totally different universe. The mixed church was this huge mega church with a rock band and a jumbotron. Trevor calls it Christian karaoke. Then the white church Sunday school, they turned Bible stories into action movies where Samson was basically a superhero. And then you had the black church. That's where you went for real passion and, to watch the pastor literally cast demons out of people. So finally, this church marathon is over. It's after 9 p.m. They're trying to get home, but the streets are completely empty. And you have to remember, during the political violence of that time, an empty street at night, that was not a safe place to be. They wait and they wait. And just when they think they've caught a break, a kind man actually stops and offers them a lift. A minibus taxi just appears out of nowhere, swerves aggressively right in front of the car and cuts them off. This was not a rescue mission. 2 men get out, they're Zulu minibus drivers, and they are furious. See, in the whole unregulated, often violent taxi business, that guy who picked them up was stealing their customers. And they were there to, enforce their territory. And the weapon one of them was carrying, an uisa, that tells you everything you need to know about how serious this was. This wasn't just a stick. This was a traditional war club designed for one thing and one thing only: smashing skulls. The threat of deadly violence was very, very real. So, to save the other guy, Trevor's mom agrees to ride with them, but once they're inside that minibus, things escalate and fast. The driver starts lecturing her, and then he hears her speak Xhosa, his tribal enemy. And his anger just boils over into pure bigotry. He calls her a slut, and then he says these terrifying words: "Tonight, You're going to learn your lesson. Trevor's mom knew exactly what that meant. This wasn't a ride home anymore. It was a kidnapping, rape, murder. These were now horrifyingly real possibilities. She had to make a choice right then and there. As the driver is speeding through these empty streets, she leans over to Trevor and she just calmly and quietly whispers this desperate 4-step escape plan. She's going to open the door at the next intersection and they are going to have to jump from a moving vehicle. But there was a problem, a huge one. Trevor, who was just completely exhausted after this 9-hour day, had nodded off. He was fast asleep, facing mortal danger, and he didn't hear a single word of his mother's life-saving plan. So, as the minibus slows down for an intersection, his mother acts. She doesn't hesitate for a second. She yanks open that heavy sliding door, grabs her sleeping son, and just hurls him out into the road. He woke up instantly. I mean, the shock and the pain of hitting the pavement just jolted him awake. He looks up, totally confused, and sees his mother, who had jumped right after him while curled around his baby brother, already on her feet. She looks right at him and screams just one word. They got away from the minibus, but the story is not over, not even close. What happens next, in the moments right after, is almost as unbelievable as the escape itself, and it tells you everything about who they are. They ran, and like Trevor says, nobody ran like me and my mom. They actually outran their attackers, who were probably just stunned, and found safety at a 2-4-hour gas station. They were cut up, scraped, bleeding, but they were alive. And incredibly, his baby brother didn't have a single scratch on him. So once the adrenaline starts to wear off, Trevor's little 9-year-old brain tries to make sense of what just happened. But he doesn't feel relief. He feels anger. He's confused. His first words to his mom aren't thank you, they're an accusation. An argument actually breaks out right there on the side of the road. He's furious that she threw him, totally missing the alternative. His logic is just, it's absurd, right? At least they would have woken me up before they killed me. But that's the logic of a terrified kid who has no idea that his mother just saved his life. So finally, after they go back and forth about God's will and the devil and everything else, Trevor, in this moment of just pure frustration, says this. It was his way of trying to make one last point about their ridiculously dangerous trip to church. And what's so amazing is that this one sentence just shatters all the tension. His mother breaks into this huge smile, and then they both just start laughing. Standing right there, bleeding and terrified, they find this moment of shared humor, a real connection. It's just an incredible end to the chapter, isn't it? It shows this extraordinary resilience. And it really reveals this unique family bond, one that's so strong, it allows a mother and a son to find laughter in the immediate aftermath of just pure absolute terror.
If you'd like more personalized feedback, writing support, and discussion sessions, they're available with me or with our selected tutors. All the details are here.